at Smalley's Inn, which is a very, very haunted restaurant out in Carmel, New York, which is about 15 minutes down 84, Interstate 84 from, Connecticut border, which isn't too far from you, Joni. I mean, that's what, like a two-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive, something at all.
Yeah, not bad. I'm excited.
It's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to get there because they have great food there, too, everyone. I mean, they have great food. They have any kind of beer you could possibly want, and it's all affordable. So, I encourage everyone to go there, sit down, order yourself a hamburger, a nice steak, whatever, and,
nice.
It's a very affordable place to eat. And, I believe the owner's going to, show people some of the evidence that was collected there throughout the years. And I believe Smalley's has been on Dead Files and it's been on a couple of other TV shows as well. So it's a great place.
It was just on this last weekend. Yeah, it was just on Saturday. I just happened to tune in. So it's very, very incredible location.
I wish we could investigate while we're there, but I don't see that happening. But, we're there from 2 to 4 to hang out. There is a cemetery down the road, however, that we can, definitely indulge in and take some pictures after the book signing, if you want, Joni.
Hey, sounds good. I'm free all day, so.
Nice. So it's a date.
Well,
sounds like a good time for sure.
Yeah. So, what books are you planning on bringing this weekend to, have people?
Well, I have 11 books, so.
Wow.
They're all in the trunk of my car, so I'm like a roving bookmobile, So I'll just bring them all, and I'll just bring my paranormal ones in. I have 4 paranormal books. My latest book is Devil's Toy Box, and that's about my experience living in a haunted house back in the late 80s, early 90s. So it was quite an experience. I'll bring that one in too.
Excellent. I can't wait. I mean, that's one that I actually wanted to read.
Oh yeah. Well, I tell you what, I'll trade you books. I'll give you mine if you give me yours.
Oh, we're going back to the 8th grade now. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. Excellent. That sounds like a plan.
When did you first start writing? When and why did you first begin writing? Because 11 books, that's a lot.
Yeah, well, and that's published. I have 6 others that never saw the light of a bookshelf. So
I think a lot of people do that. Yeah.
Yeah, practice books. I mean, they really weren't publishable. I go back. I thought they were great then, but I go back now and read them, and I'm like, I can see why I was turned down, by agencies and stuff. But you just keep working at it. I started when I was 17. I was in high school and signed up for a creative writing class and discovered I had a talent for it. And I was like, this is awesome because, when you're 17, you're looking for your thing. And,
of course.
Yeah. So
when I was 17, I was still looking for my thing.
I'm pretty sure you found your thing already, Jay, when you were 17.
I'm not sure. I might have. I don't think so, though.
That's what it says in your first book.
I think I thought I did, but then I peed out of it, so,
Oh, dear. Sorry, Joni.
No, that's okay. It's very entertaining.
So what inspired you to write your first book? Which one was your first book? That your first published, really good book? What was your first
my
one?
first published book was Lightning Strikes, which is part of it's part of a trilogy that's dystopian, which like Hunger Games or something. It's a post-apocalyptic world. So,
cool.
And it's gotten excellent ratings. My average is 4.9 out of 5 stars on Amazon for the 3 books in the trilogy. But it just never got the visibility. I'll sell a few each month, and people email me and tell me they really loved it. But it's just not selling as well as my paranormal books. So
that's interesting because my first book is going through the same thing. I've got 15 reviews. I got a 5.0 rating on my reviews, all 5 stars. And for some odd reason, you would think it would be flying off the fucking shelves, but it's not.
I think you have
it might sell even more after your second book. You never know.
Yeah. Possibly.
It happens.
Well, I think, books have a shelf life, especially true paranormals. You have about 3 months of really good sales, and then it starts to decline. So, to be successful in this market, you really have to put out a new book every 3 months, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not too many people can keep up with that.
I can't do that. I ain't got the time to pump out a book every 3 months.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to put one out every 3 months. I mean,
I'm struggling to get one out once a year.
I mean, once a year would be it. I don't know how people find times to do. I find the time to do that, especially without selling out. It's hard to do. I mean, Joni, do you find that you have a really specific writing style? What's the hardest part of writing your books?
I don't know. I have a process. I mean, just like everybody else, but my process is probably a little different. I know a lot of authors write outlines, and then they go and fill in the outline. And I just, depending on what I'm writing, like if I'm writing fiction, I'll have a general idea what's going to happen, but I just start out and just take off writing, and the book finds its way through the process, which is kind of a magical process for me. I really love getting in that zone. But
I like that.
True paranormals are easier because you know what happened. You don't have to make up a plot or make up characters or anything. You just have to describe what you know about it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. When writing my book, that's where I'm a little bit different. I even though my books are paranormal, even though my books were paranormal based, I like to have different story involved with it, as opposed to just that paranormal story. I mean, and that was my way of thinking when I started writing. I just wanted a certain message to get across. Like my first book, Unrested Peace. I mean, both of these actually have read it. So, I mean, you know that there's a lot more to it than just that paranormal element. I mean, it's about a boy who found acceptance in a society that rejected it. And that was the message that I wanted to get across, and that's what I did. My second book it has a completely different plot, obviously, but, it has paranormal events in there. It has actually a lot more scarier paranormal events in it than my first one. However, I wanted to indulge in the history and get the message across that there's a specific group of people that we owe a great deal of gratitude towards that we take for granted. And I think I got that message across pretty clearly in my second one.
I can't wait to read it. I really enjoyed
I can't wait to read it.
Book. I loved your first book, and I loved the tone of how it was a boy finding his way. And I think a lot of us really empathize with you as a boy, because we've been through similar things. So it made it. I don't know. To me, I loved your first book, so I'm really looking forward to your second one.
I think you'll like the second one a lot more than the first one. In all honesty, I've always
great.
Well, I haven't always said, but it's been literally an honor to write the second one because of the whole subject behind it, and I truly am honored to be able to get that specific message out to the public and put it in the public's eye, so that they can soak that up and say, you know what, we as humans, we're not perfect. We're all fucked up in the head, and we did this stuff. We are responsible for this, and it was completely wrong that we did do it, and we got to be grateful in some twisted, exotic, kind of weird, fucked up way.
Mhm. Yeah, the back then was terrible. Not even just broad spectrum. We didn't treat people like we treat them now, especially children. And the mentally ill, they fell into a lot of holes there.
They were almost non-people back then. Yeah.
My second one's not about mentally ill; it's about mentally challenged, which is a whole other genre. And and I'll branch off a little bit. I'll give a little, I guess, a brief description of what I'm talking about. Ever since the mid 1800s all the way up, these particular people who have Down syndrome or autism or just mentally handicapped, they were literally looked at
autism, all kinds of things. Yeah.
All kinds of things. They didn't have a specific diagnosis for them. They just called them retards, and that was it. And when these kids were born, they would go to, the parents would go to the doctor and they'd say, Doc, I mean, there's something fucked up with this kid. What do I do?
Yeah.
And, you know, he'd look at it and say, well, he's a retard, so you're going to lock him in a facility and forget about him. And that's what the parents did. They locked him in a facility and forgot about him. Well, anyway, considering that they were forgotten about and rejected by society, no one ever wanted to bat an eye at him, that led the government, our government, and doctors and all this stuff to be able to say, you know what, it's a great opportunity to do some research on it and try to provide, you know, better medicines for the future of our normal everyday society. And they would force these patients, these people, they weren't treated as patients. They were literally treated as inmates, in all honesty. And it got to the point where there were inmates, literally inmates. It got to the point where they were literally paroled. Seriously, they grew up, they became 18, 19 years old, and these people with Down syndrome, autism, whatever the case may be, the doctor would look at them and say, all right, you are now paroled, you're going to serve in the armed forces. So they got shipped off to the Army. You know, you got you know, hundreds of people with Down syndrome and autism who can't even defend themselves, you know what to write their name or you know, to even shoot a gun, you know, killing people in you know, Germany in the 1930s and shit. Yeah. You know, so it's kind of messed up. But, you know, doctors, they would line patients up, you know, hundreds of them in a row, and then inject them with you know, specific vaccinations that were, you know, just coming out or whatever the case may be, or still in the process of being, you know, tried. For example, smallpox, you know, that was a big one. They would inject them with a smallpox vaccination, and a week later, line the same people up and inject them with smallpox, just to see if the vaccination would take effect. And that's the kind of crap they would do. They would cut them open and, you know, see if their internal organs were the same as the normal person, and they would use little, if any, anesthesia. Basically what I'm saying, people, they would lay them down and say, pop 2 aspirin, and I'm going to cut your fucking stomach open. Most of them died from the pain. You know what I mean? All because, you know, they couldn't talk, so they didn't think they felt pain or whatever the case may be. I mean, these patients were really, really, you know, treated horribly, just horribly. And it's a lot of things like that, everyday society take for granted because, you know, if it wasn't for that particular stage in our medical history, we wouldn't have the modern-day medicine that we have today. A lot of people, you know, presume that, you know, we were testing on lab rats, or we did do some testing on lab rats, but a lot of our, you know, education that we gained from, you know, modern medicine came from people who couldn't say no or couldn't say yes or had no choice.
That's just horrible. It's just horrible.
So that's basically what my second book is about.
Wow, I can't wait to read it.
It's
gonna be great. So back to Joni.
Back to Joni. But Jason, in response to that with your second book, although I know you're talking about a particular place that you researched, in your second book, is there also going to be an underlying like a different message like you had in your first book, like a whole underlying different message also that we should grasp? And is there going to be any personal story involved with it as well?
There's definitely some personal story involved with it.
Okay.
You know, obviously it's another specific genre in my life altogether.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
So, I mean, there is a personal story behind it. It's actually kind of like 2 stories into one because there is a section of it that branches off into like a massive flashback. Needless to say, it goes back to 1948. I wasn't even a swimmer yet in 1948, so I don't know what happened, you know what I mean? So that whole section is literally fiction. Literally fiction. However, the facts that are in there, the main things, you know, the different treatments that were going on, the sort of environment these patients were in, all that stuff is 100% accurate according to research that I dug up through, you know, other books and, you know, online sources. Not to mention, if you go into this particular location that's in it that this book is about, you will find thousands and thousands of unfiled documents from patients, medical records, all kinds of shit, which is actually illegal. You know what I mean? All those records should have been placed over to, you know, New York City. New York City should have filed them, because now there's those patients. Some of those patients are actually still alive right now to this day, and my girlfriend Diane, she works at a facility called I forget the fucking name of it at the moment, but she has